It all started with financial problems during college. Michael, who came from a poor family in the countryside, decided to secretly sell marijuana. Slowly, his business became more and more popular until Michael eventually chose to drop out of college so he could focus on growing his business. In the early days of building his operation, Michael could be pretty ruthless as he was able to market large quantities of marijuana powder. Michael also had no hesitation about killing any competitors who tried to get in his way.
He wasn't just teeth, tits and tan. Well, that was the early days. And he cracked on.
Throughout his career, Michael managed to build relationships with various powerful figures in London. He did all of this for one purpose: to make sure his illegal business wouldn't be bothered by the government. After running the business for 25 years, Michael finally reached a point where he wanted to retire from the illegal business. Michael had assets worth billions of dollars. His plan was to sell those assets to an American marijuana businessman named Matthew. Before making the deal, Michael took Matthew to visit one of his farms. As an Oxford graduate, Michael had a pretty ingenious way of growing marijuana. Instead of cultivating it in open fields, Michael chose to build underground facilities specifically designed for that purpose. One farm like this was worth around $62 million. Meanwhile, Michael owned nearly 50 similar facilities scattered across different locations. Matthew was continually impressed by all this, and no wonder Michael was able to sell up to 20 containers of marijuana every month. By the way, with that kind of income, Matthew was naturally curious about why Michael wanted to sell all of his assets. Here's the thing. The British government planned to legalize the marijuana business within the next 2 years. This was actually a good thing. However, considering Michael started all of this with so much bloodshed, he didn't want his personal identity to become known to too many people.
An enterprise like this will need a face with pruning roses with my better half.
When the money's in escrow.
From here, we briefly shift our attention to a gangster boss named Dry Eye. Dry Eye usually made money from smuggling various expensive goods, such as luxury cars, rare diamonds, and even people. Even so, Dry Eye was actually still subordinate of a Chinese mafia boss and Michael's rival named George.
32 Ellis engines, 60.
A gentleman's quote. Anyway.
The next day, Michael's wife, Rosalind, came to his business in a rather bad mood. The news that Michael wanted to sell the business made Rosalind worried about her future. Even so, Michael still tried to calm her down because Rosalind's luxury car repair shop still had plenty of customers from wealthy business circles. Not long after, Dry Eye came to Rosalind's shop to deliver some luxury car parts that Rosalind had previously ordered. However, at this moment, Dry Eye offered a deal instead. Dry Eye would give her the items for free on the condition that she introduced him to her husband.
I can't promise anything.
When he met Michael, Dry Eye immediately made an offer on the business Michael was selling at a pretty staggering price, speaking in a rather arrogant manner. Seeing Dry Eye's overly aggressive attitude made Michael uncomfortable, so he immediately rejected the offer. At this point, Michael briefly imagined what he would have done if he had met Dry Eye when he was much younger.
Hurts, does it? There's only one rule in this fucking jungle. Is you knock on eats.
Foolish dragon who came to ask a wise.
A few days after that meeting, Michael ran into trouble again when several young men secretly broke into his marijuana farm and immediately caused a scene. They beat up every guard and then recorded what happened. It was actually pretty strange because the marijuana farm, which was supposed to be kept secret, could now be discovered by other people. Their actions also made us wonder who these young men really were and why their fighting skills were above average. After that, the young men called a man who was usually called Coach. They told him what they had just discovered. But instead of being happy, Coach scolded them for acting carelessly, especially since they had intentionally broadcast their actions live on social media. Just for some context, Coach ran a karate school attended by many young people. So, it's no surprise that the young men who attacked Michael's farm had pretty good fighting skills.
Be sure you get the uppercut in.
The best version of it.
Tell me you didn't put that fight porn on. Take it down. Now!
As a result of this incident, Michael suffered a major loss and was forced to shut down one of his farms. Even so, he still had 49 other farms left, and their locations were kept highly secret. Michael usually built his marijuana farm facilities on land owned by aristocrats in exchange for rent. As a major customer, Michael also often helped the aristocrats deal with problems they were facing. This time, Michael was asked to help find an aristocrat's daughter who had run away with her boyfriend. Without thinking too much, Michael sent his right-hand man, Ray, to solve the problem.
She's gone missing. They've asked us to find her, bring her home. out of our jurisdiction. There's too many moving parts.
No, I can't send Fraser instead. You're my best.
As Michael's right-hand man, Ray easily found the aristocrat's daughter. Ray elegantly broke into the place and asked everyone there to stay calm. Unlike most gangsters, the smart Ray only used words to persuade the aristocrat's daughter to go back home to her parents.
Now, Laura, are you ready to turn the corner? Favor and try the impossible.
Fucking hell. That was easy.
But I don't really have anything.
After the issue with the aristocrat's daughter was settled, Michael once again asked Ray to handle the theft problem. At the same time, Coach, who finally found out that his student had stolen from Michael's farm, immediately went to see Ray, who happened to be buying coffee at a restaurant. Coach apologized and promised to do anything as long as the student was allowed to stay alive. Unexpectedly, Coach had even brought a gift, a young man who had previously hired his student to attack Michael's farm. This young man was named Aslan. Without wasting any time, Ray asked the question we were all wondering. How did Aslan find the location of the marijuana farm that was supposed to be kept secret? With no other choice, Aslan finally explained that Dry had asked him to do all of it. Hearing this, Ray actually wanted to let Aslan go. However, Aslan, who had already become paranoid, decided to run away and jump from a height. A few days later, after receiving information that Dry Eye had secretly damaged his marijuana farm, Michael and Ray went to see George, his superior. Michael warned the Chinese mafia boss not to interfere with his business if he still wanted to live longer. As a well-known mafia boss himself, George immediately denied all the accusations and even threatened Michael back. However, everything changed after George finished speaking, because suddenly, who would have thought Michael was already one step ahead? Michael had secretly put poison in George's drink. Now, the mafia boss only had 1 hour to fulfill all of Michael's demands. With no other choice, George finally agreed to fulfill all of Michael's demands and promised to take out Dry Eye before sunset.
Somewhat under the weather.
True to his promise to Michael, George rushed to Dry Eye to warn him. Actually, George was Dry Eye's uncle. Because of that, George didn't hesitate to scold his own nephew. However, Dry Eye kept arguing back, causing George to slowly lose his patience. Without thinking twice, George ordered one of his men to kill Dry Eye right then and there. But as soon as George turned around, what happened was...
Fuck you, you old cunt!
George's men had apparently already betrayed him and chosen to side with Dry Eye. From here, we realize that Dry Eye already had a new boss. However, who that person actually was had yet to be revealed. The next day, while Michael was having lunch, an assassin suddenly came to attack him. Luckily, Ray arrived just in time and immediately saved him. Although Michael survived, he still couldn't feel at ease because he remembered that his wife was now alone at her business. Michael's instincts turned out to be right, because Rosalind was now being attacked by Dry Eye. Michael immediately hit the gas without caring about what was happening around him, and even ended up getting into an accident. Even though his body was badly injured, Michael kept running toward Rosalind so he could save her. The intense pain seemed to mean nothing because Michael loved his wife so much. When he arrived at Rosalind's shop, Michael found that his wife was about to be raped by Dry Eye. He first took a deep breath, then... George and Dry Eye's deaths didn't immediately free Michael from his problems. That night, a private detective named Fletcher came to see Ray. For the past few weeks, Fletcher had been secretly monitoring Michael's activities and studying the conflict he was dealing with. Fletcher had even carefully documented all the evidence of the crimes committed by Michael and Ray. Fletcher's purpose in meeting Ray was to blackmail him by demanding a payment of $20 million. Initially, Fletcher had been hired by a private TV director named Dave to gather evidence of Michael's crimes. As it happened, Dave had previously been offended because Michael refused to shake his hand at an event. In fact, Michael deliberately did this because the media run by Dave always portrayed the aristocrats working with Michael as if they were involved in various scandals.
Dave can't half be a cunt.
We returned to Fletcher, who was still talking with Ray. Fletcher explained that the payment from Dave was considered too small compared to the information he had obtained. That's why Fletcher deliberately came to Ray to get a bigger reward. Furthermore, Fletcher also revealed that he wouldn't be afraid even if Ray killed him. It should be noted that all the evidence Fletcher had collected had now been handed over to an insurance company as collateral. So, if Ray did anything to him, all the evidence would immediately be sent to Dave. The next morning, when Dave was about to go meet Fletcher, he was suddenly stopped by several young men who were members of Coach's group. They blocked Dave's car, kidnapped him, and took him somewhere. When he woke up from being unconscious, Coach explained to Dave that he had injected him with an aphrodisiac. While unconscious, Dave played with a pig, and the entire incident was precisely recorded using 5 HD cameras. The footage was ready to be uploaded to social media, and of course, Dave's reputation as a director would be at serious risk. Hearing this, Dave immediately asked to make peace and asked what Coach wanted. This was when Coach explained that he wanted Dave to stop interfering with Michael's business, especially by making Michael look bad. We shift to Fletcher, who failed to meet Dave that day and eventually went to Ray's home. The private detective apparently didn't know what had happened to Dave. So, Fletcher confidently confronted Ray and demanded $20 million. At this point, Ray once again showed his classy way of dealing with someone like Fletcher. It turned out there was a reason why Ray had invited Fletcher for drinks a night before and cooked a mistake. Ray had secretly been looking for an opportunity to put a tracking device inside Fletcher's shoe. Throughout the previous day, Coach's men went to every place Fletcher visited, including his mother's house and the insurance office that Fletcher had mentioned. From there, they managed to take all the evidence Fletcher had worked so hard to collect. Now that there were no more obstacles, it was Ray's turn to punish Fletcher. The next morning, Matthew went to see Michael to discuss the offer they had talked about before. Matthew intended to renegotiate Michael's asking price because one of his farms had been broken into by several people the previous day. Hearing this, Michael didn't immediately give him an answer. Calmly, Michael asked Matthew to keep walking toward one of the refrigerated rooms, until finally, seeing Dry Eye's lifeless body lying there made Matthew panic. Michael could only give a slight smile because he had understood Matthew's scheme to manipulate the negotiation from beginning. Ever since their visit to the marijuana farm, Michael had secretly followed Matthew when he met with Dry Eye to carry out his plan. So, Matthew actually wanted to take control of Michael's marijuana farms, but felt the asking price was too high. As a solution, Matthew hired Dry Eye to side with him and promised to split the profits. Dry Eye was only asked to disrupt Michael's marijuana farms, so the price could be negotiated lower. After accepting the offer, Dry Eye told his associate Aslan to hire several young men who were good at fighting. Using the location provided by Dry Eye, Aslan managed to direct Coach's men to damage Michael's marijuana farm. Actually, besides being angry at Matthew for betraying him, Michael also couldn't forgive the consequences of his actions. Rosalind, who knew nothing about any of this, almost became a victim of Matthew's stupidity. As compensation for material and non-material losses Michael had suffered, Michael demanded that Matthew pay $30 million, 74 kilograms of gold, and a piece of flesh from one part of his body.
Am I clear? For yourself, Big Bunny here.
We return to Ray, who now learns an interesting fact from Fletcher, who apparently hadn't been killed. Sometime earlier, Fletcher had secretly sold information about Ray and Michael to the Russian mafia. Do you still remember Aslan, who previously committed suicide? It turned out that Aslan was the son of the head of Russian intelligence who was studying in London. His father was furious after learning that Aslan had died after getting involved with gangsters. Because of that, his father secretly hired an assassination organization to take out Ray immediately.
Telling you, I've saved your lives, which I think...
Retribution. A world of misery. Of torment.
Luckily, Coach managed to save Ray from the assassin's attack. However, Michael wasn't as lucky as Ray, because the car he was riding in was hijacked by the assassins. Fortunately, at the same time, Coach's men happened to be passing by, and eventually...
The car? What you need.
After that incident, Fletcher finally managed to escape and hide for some time. 1 month later, just after leaving a convenience store, Fletcher was shocked by the presence of Ray, who was disguised as a taxi driver. At this point, Fletcher had already accepted his fate and was certain that Michael's right-hand man was going to kill him. While Michael's right-hand man was killing Fletcher, Michael himself was enjoying some time with his wife, who had now fully recovered. The movie finally came to an end.